So today, it's my pleasure to kind of do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about, as you can see here, the facilities at 4Life, and we're going to go through how a product is made and all the testing that we do on those products. So that's 700 tests that she just mentioned. You're going to see where all of those take place and what that means for every product that you get. Doesn't matter whether it's made in Sandy or in Vineyard where I make them, or made anywhere else around the world. We use the same procedures everywhere, and everything is done the same. So let's dive in and start off and look at some of our laboratory spaces. This is what we refer to as our chemistry lab. So this is where we do pretty much all of our potency testing. So if you see on a label it says you have 50 milligrams of vitamin C, this is the lab where that is tested. Now there's a number of different instruments in this lab. Down here in the corner, this is where we do our mineral analyses. So it has calcium, magnesium, selenium, any of those minerals. It'll be tested on, it's actually two pieces of equipment here, this one and this one. And each of these things costs over $100,000 a piece. And it takes a trained scientist to run them. The second machine in the back there is capable of detecting one drop in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. So this is a very sensitive machine. And so we use it not only to test the calcium, magnesium, and whatnot, but it also tests for things we don't want in our products, like the heavy metals, cadmium, mercury, lead. So it tests for all those things. We make sure that it has what it's supposed to and none of what we don't want it to have. Okay? The other ones kind of noted up here in the center, these are where we do the vitamin analysis. And we'll also do some of the botanical testing on these machines as well. And then down in the bottom right corner there, that is for identification of any of our plant-based ingredients. So whenever we get a plant that comes in, they have a unique, we'll call it a fingerprint. This machine is able to kind of separate out the different components in the plant in a way that we can see kind of a unique fingerprint for that plant. And this is one of the ways we use to make sure that when we get a ginkgo in, it really is ginkgo, and that it hasn't been modified or adulterated. Because I don't know if you're aware, but ginkgo is probably one of the most counterfeited herbs currently in the marketplace. There are some really cheap plants you can buy that look very similar to ginkgo when you get into these kind of chemistry methods, but they're not the same. And so we do this plus a few other tests to make sure that it's the natural ginkgo and it hasn't just been spiked with a few things here and there to look like ginkgo. And this happens with other plants as well. So everything that comes into our facilities, raw materials, the ingredients that go into all of our products, will go through this lab. And they will have probably about a dozen tests each time we receive it. And I'll show you a little bit later the specification sheet we use to determine what it is we get and what tests are going to be performed and what results are considered passing. And so this is one of the labs we start off with. The other one we have is just the physical properties lab. And this one's kind of the simplest of the tests that we do. This is where we'll check weights and densities. You have a few things here. This is another way that we do identification. This works for anything that's organic, meaning that it contains a carbon molecule in it. So this again works with plants, it works for some of the minerals we have, and it works for a few like amino acids and those kind of things. We can do identification with this one. Then you have things that do pH up in the upper right there. That is testing moisture. You guys are all aware what happens if things get too wet. They tend to grow mold and fungi and other things. And so all of our powders are tested to make sure that they have sufficiently low moisture levels so that hopefully they're not going to grow anything while they're sitting in the warehouse, while they're sitting in the bottle. Okay, so this is one of the checks we do. And then the fun one down on the bottom right there, this is our leak tester. So anything that comes in a stick pack, we'll go through this. It gets put under a vacuum, and if there's any bubbles or anything else that comes out of the packet, we know there's a leak in the packet, and we will inspect the entire lot. So everything that comes out in a finished good that way is going to be tested to make sure that not only does it have what it's supposed to in the packet, but it's going to stay in the packet and not let anything else in with it.